And now we're in the astronauts' dining room, where we're seeing the crew with the STS-114 mission cake. Here's mission specialist Wendy Lawrence, pilot Jim Kelly, astronaut Soichi Noguchi from JAXA, our commander Eileen Collins, mission specialist Andy Thomas, and Steve Robinson, along with Charlie Camarda. A happy tone for our launch today. They'll be headed off after a very brief lunch to the suit-up room. And they'll also get a weather briefing as to our conditions here at KSC, which are excellent today, and a look at the weather. That is Soichi Noguchi. Mission specialist Wendy Lawrence, about to get her helmet in a moment. With gloves. And coming into the suit-up room shortly will be Eileen Collins, Jim Kelly, and Steve Robinson. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 3 hours and holding, where we see our commander, Eileen Collins, now in the suit-up room. Here is our pilot, Jim Kelly, flight engineer, mission specialist, Steve Robinson. We'll see the crew go down the elevator to the Astrovan and start out for. This is shuttle launch control, where we see the STS-114 astronauts leaving the suit-up room, headed for the elevator down to the first floor from the astronaut quarters in the operations and checkout building, along with Kent Rominger, who will fly the shuttle training aircraft. He's chief of the astronaut office. And here they are. There they go. They'll have also a helicopter escort along with security as they head out to Pad B. It's about a 20-minute drive. Confirmation another weather balloon is up for ILO data. this seat on the flight deck where Eileen Collins is being seated. This is Mission Specialist 5, Charlie Camarda. He will sit in seat 7. That's the mid-deck right seat.
OTC DPS. GPS go. Here's CMQC on 152. CMQC. Copy.
Initial comm check with the firing room. And Jim Kelly, as we saw, is coming up next. The clouds that have been building offshore are expected to stay offshore.
And good morning, Ken. We have you loud and clear also.
See, we've got Suichi here. He's about ready to board.
Yes, Suichi's in the white room. He's getting his comm cap assembly on. He'll go through a series of checks here with the closeout crew personnel in the white room, and then when the suit technicians and the insertion technicians are ready for him, he'll go through the hatch and begin strapping into his seat.
So they, those that are on board, the crew suit technicians actually say when they're ready for the next crew member to board, as opposed to when Suichi's ready, he just gets on.
The hatch and board his seat on the flight deck as MS-1. And there you can see he's holding up a sign. It looks like a get out of quarantine free card, George. The crew's been in quarantine for quite some time now, and I think they're a little anxious to go flying here.
And we see the suit technician holding on to an umbilical here. Is Soichi going to be connected to that?
George, that's a cooling hose that's attached to the suit while he's on the pad surface and in the white room prior to entering the crew module. Once he's in his seat, we'll hook up a liquid cooling unit that will pump cold water through his suit to cool him off. That device just blows cool air on him. He's studying for their operations on orbit, and some of that is personal notes that they've taken for things they want to accomplish in what order they want to get those things done in. One of the largest things we have to do after main engine cutoff is turn the orbiter into an orbiting vehicle. And we need to get the payload bay doors open. We need to get the crew module reconfigured. We need to get ascent equipment stowed and orbit equipment unstowed. We need to get seats folded, suits off. And as you can imagine, it's cramped quarters, and with all the extra gear that you're carrying in, we need to make sure that it's stowed in an efficient manner. Between Charlie and Andy. You can see the straps hanging down, George. Those straps are used as assist handles to get in and out of the seat. Because the vehicle's in the vertical here, the crew enters and then has to lay on their backs for launch.
And what looks like a knee board here?
That is a knee board on Charlie's right knee, and he's got a notepad to take notes. He's also got a stopwatch to keep track of items during the ascent. Ray Cuevas there is going to start hooking Wendy up to her seat and making sure that her parachute is attached properly to her harness. As Steve Robinson has entered the white room now. He'll be the last crew member to board today in the MS2 seat behind the commander and pilot, assisting them. I don't know if you saw the pictures earlier of Steve playing his guitar in crew quarters, but Steve is quite the musician. He's in the astronaut band Max Q. He's quite the accomplished guitarist.
1154.
Well, they seem to be very upbeat, having had to wait this troubleshooting out, but just observing, their mindset appears to be very positive today.
OTC, MS4, contract.
S4, this is OTC. I have you loud and clear. Good morning, Wendy.
And it looks like Steve has got his helmet on now. You can see George making sure that the seal is really tight.
Chief Engineer, verify no constraints to launch.
My engineering team is ready to go.
Thank you, Charlie. KC Safety and Mission Assurance.
KSC SMA is go.
Thank you, Steve. Payload Launch Manager.
Mike, the ISS ground processing team is ready to go.
Thank you, Bill. Range Weather.
Weather has no constraints for launch.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Ops Manager.
The mission management team is working no problems. We are go for launch.
Thank you, sir. Discovery Launch Director.
Discovery 2, go ahead.
Okay, Eileen, our long wait may be over. And so on behalf of the many millions of people who believe so deeply in what we do, good luck, Godspeed, and have a little fun up there.
Our thanks to you, to the launch team, and to everybody in the shuttle program. The crew is go for launch.
Copy that, thank you. NTD, you are clear to proceed with this launch.
Copy, thank you.
Standing by to pick up the count in 10 seconds. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2,
clock orders on my mark.
1. T-minus 9 minutes and counting.
T
T-minus 9 minutes.
We are
CLS auto
now just
sequencer
9
has
minutes
been
away
initiated.
from the launch of Space Shuttle Discovery on a mission to the International Space Station. All the countdown events are being controlled by the ground launch sequencer here in the firing room. Here is First Lady Laura Bush, who has come to witness today's launch, along with the invited guests and astronauts' families.
My camera is dead.
CLS is go for orbiter access arm retract.
Discovery OTC, it's time for you to return to flight. Our hopes and prayers ride with you. Godspeed, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
And OTC Discovery, thank you very much.
That was Orbiter Test Conductor Mark Taffet here in Firing Room 3. The rotating service structure can be moved back into position very quickly if there's an emergency in about 28 seconds. Good pre-start on the APUs.
OTC, PLT, AP pre-start complete. 3 great talkbacks.
Governor Jeb Bush there with Laura Bush.
She's right here. She's right there. She's right here.
Standing by for APU start now. T-minus 4 minutes, 4 minutes and counting.
CLS go for purge sequence 4.
Main engine purge now underway, and the orbiter's aerosurface profile test is beginning. You see Discovery's rudder moving. Main engine gimbal check, steering check coming up. Verifying the main engines now are in start position.
CLS is go for ET LO2 pressurization.
And now we should have retraction of the gaseous oxygen vent arm. The GOX vent arm will pull away from the top of the external tank, the Vini cap so-called.
OTC, PLT. OTC, PLT, caution room member cleared. No unexpected errors. Copy that, thank you. Discovery OTC, close and lock your visors and initiate O2 flow.
T-minus 2 minutes.
Visors and O2 flows in work.
CLS is go for ET LH2 pressurization.
Sound suppression water system now being armed. T-minus 1 minute. Solid rocket booster joint heaters now being deactivated. Final check of the solid rocket booster commands. Joint heaters being turned off. LOX and LH2 fill and drain valves closed. Solid rocket booster flight data recorders activated. Standing by for the handoff to Discovery's computers. T-minus 31 seconds. The handoff has occurred. Discovery's computers now controlling.
25.
Firing chain is armed.
20.
Sound suppressor water system is being activated.
15.
Range station systems armed. T-minus 10 seconds. Go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5. 3 engines up and burning. 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And the vehicle has cleared the tower.
Discovery. Houston's now controlling. Commander Eileen Collins confirming Discovery's rolling onto a course for rendezvous with the International Space Station. 30 seconds since launch. Discovery's already traveling 400 miles per hour. Altitude 12,000 feet. This a view from a camera mounted on Discovery's external fuel tank. 3 engines on Discovery are now throttling down to 2/3 throttle to prepare the spacecraft to pass through the area of maximum air pressure and go supersonic. One minute since launch. Discovery speed now 900 miles per hour.
Discovery Houston, go at throttle up.
1.5 minutes since launch. Discovery's already consumed more than 2.25 million pounds of propellant. It weighs less than half of what it did at liftoff. Speed now 2,000 miles per hour. Altitude 18 miles, 14 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center. Standing by now for burnout and jettison of the twin solid rockets. Booster officer confirms clean separation of the solid rocket boosters. Discovery now on its 3 main engines, second stage. Speed now 3,030 miles per hour. Altitude 33 miles, 40 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center. Discovery's orbital maneuvering system engines are now firing to assist its climb to orbit. They'll fire for about 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Altitude 67 miles, 350 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center. Discovery speed now 9,200 miles per hour. Discovery's rolling to a heads-up position now to assist its performance as it finishes its ascent to orbit.
Discovery Houston, press to MECO and single engine Zaragoza 104.
Press to MECO and single engine Zaragoza 104.
Those calls that Discovery could reach its planned orbit on only 2 engines if needed. All 3 continue to operate well at full throttle. Just under 2 minutes to cut off of the main engines now.
Discovery Houston, we see a nominal shutdown plan. You will be go for the +X and go for the pitch maneuver.
Nominal shutdown plan, go for the +X and go for the pitch maneuver.
Good copy.
Discovery's 3 engines are now beginning to throttle back to prevent the spacecraft from experiencing forces in excess of 3 times that of Earth's gravity as it continues to accelerate. Standing by for cutoff, Discovery's 3 main engines. Booster officer confirms main engine cutoff for Discovery. Standing by now for jettison of the external fuel tank. Live television as Discovery jettisons external fuel tank. All normal with the cutoff of Discovery's main engines. Discovery performing a maneuver to fire its jets and ensure clean separation from the tank.
Discovery, we have a good plus X maneuver.
Copy the good plus X. We saw a nominal MECO. Ohms 1 is not required.
Nominal MECO, ohms 1 not required.
Firing chain is armed.
20.
Sound suppressor water system is being activated.
15.
Range station systems armed. T-minus 10 seconds. Go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5. 3 engines up and burning. 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And the vehicle has cleared the tower.
Discovery.
Houston's now controlling. Commander Eileen Collins confirming Discovery's rolling onto a course for rendezvous with the International Space Station. Seconds since launch, Discovery's already traveling 400 miles.
Firing chain is armed.
20.
Sound suppressor water system is being activated.
15.
Range station systems armed. T-minus 10 seconds. Go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5. 3 engines up and burning. 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And the vehicle has cleared the tower.
Discovery.
Houston's now controlling. Commander Eileen Collins confirming Discovery's rolling onto a course for rendezvous with the International Space Station. Standing by now for burnout and jettison of the twin solid rockets. Booster officer confirms clean separation of the solid rocket boosters. Discovery now on its 3 main engines, second stage. Speed now 3,030 miles per hour, altitude 33 miles, 40 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center.
Firing chain is armed.
20.
Sound suppressor water system is being activated.
15.
Range station systems armed. T-minus 10 seconds. Go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5. 3 engines up and burning. 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And the vehicle has cleared the tower.
Discovery.
Houston's now controlling. Commander Eileen Collins confirming Discovery's rolling onto a course for rendezvous with the International Space Station. Booster officer confirms clean separation of the solid rocket boosters. Discovery now on its 3 main engines, second stage.
Firing chain is armed.
20.
Sound suppressor water system is being activated.
15.
Range station systems armed. T-minus 10 seconds. Go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5. 3 engines up and burning. 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And the vehicle has cleared the tower. Armed. T-minus 10 seconds. Go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5. 3 engines up and burning. 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And the vehicle has cleared the tower.
controlling. Commander Eileen Collins confirming Discovery's rolling.
And beyond, and the vehicle has cleared the tower.
Discovery.
Houston's now controlling. Commander Eileen Collins confirming Discovery's rolling onto a course for rendezvous with the International Space Station. Seconds since launch, Discovery's already traveling 400 miles per hour.
New journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond, and the vehicle has cleared the tower.
Discovery.
Houston's now controlling. Commander Eileen Collins confirming Discovery's rolling onto a course for rendezvous with the International Space Station. Seconds since launch, Discovery's already traveling 400 miles per hour. Altitude 12,000 feet. This a view from a camera mounted on Discovery's external fuel tank. 3 engines on Discovery are now throttling down to 2/3 throttle to prepare the spacecraft to pass through the area of maximum air pressure and go supersonic. One minute since launch, Discovery speed now 900 miles per hour.
Discovery Houston, go at throttle up.
Discovery, just go with throttle.
All systems remain go for Discovery. Altitude now 9 miles, 6 miles northeast of the launch pad. One and a half minutes since launch, Discovery's already consumed more than 2.25 million pounds of propellant. It weighs less than half of what it did at liftoff. Speed now 2,000 miles per hour. Altitude 18 miles, 14 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center. Standing by now for burnout and jettison of the twin solid rockets. Booster officer confirms clean separation of the solid rocket boosters. Discovery now on its 3 main engines, second stage. Speed now 3,030 miles per hour. Altitude 33 miles, 40 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center. Discovery's orbital maneuvering system engines are now firing.
Firing chain is armed.
20.
Sound suppressor water system is being activated.
15.
Range station systems armed. T-minus 10 seconds. Go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5. 3 engines up and burning. 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And the vehicle has cleared the tower.
Discovery.
Houston's now controlling. Commander Eileen Collins confirming Discovery's rolling onto a course for rendezvous with the International Space Station.
Firing chain is armed.
20.
Sound suppressor water system is being activated.
15.
Range station systems armed. T-minus 10 seconds. Go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5. 3 engines up and burning. 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And the vehicle has cleared the tower. Liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And the vehicle has cleared the path. Systems on. 10 seconds to ignition engine start. 7, 6, 5, all engines up and running. 3, 2, 1, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Discovery, beginning America's new journey to the moon, Mars, and beyond. And the vehicle has cleared the path.
Discovery.
Houston's now controlling. Commander Eileen Collins confirming Discovery's rolling onto a course for rendezvous with the International Space Station. Seconds since launch, Discovery's already traveling 400 miles per hour. Altitude 12,000 feet. This a view from a camera mounted on Discovery's external fuel tank. 3 engines on Discovery are now throttling down to 2/3 throttle to prepare the spacecraft to pass through the area of maximum air pressure and go supersonic. One minute since launch, Discovery speed now 900 miles per hour.
Discovery Houston, go at throttle up.
Discovery, just go with throttle.
All systems remain go for Discovery. Altitude now 9 miles, 6 miles northeast of the launch pad. One and a half minutes since launch, Discovery's already consumed more than 2.25 million pounds of propellant. It weighs less than half of what it did at liftoff. Speed now 2,000 miles per hour. Altitude 18 miles, 14 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center. Standing by now for burnout and jettison of the twin solid rockets. Booster officer confirms clean separation of the solid rocket boosters. Discovery now on its 3 main engines, second stage. Speed now 3,030 miles per hour. Altitude 33 miles, 40 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center. Discovery's orbital maneuvering system engines are now firing to assist its climb to orbit. They'll fire for about 2 minutes and 19 seconds. This again a view from camera on the external fuel tank for Discovery.
Discovery Houston, 2 engine Zaragoza.
Discovery is 2 engine Zaragoza.
That call that Discovery could perform a transatlantic landing at a Spanish Air Force base in Zaragoza, Spain if required. 3 engines continue to operate well. All systems in good condition. Altitude now 254,000 feet, or about 48 miles. Discovery speed 4,500 miles per hour. 85 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center. About 5 minutes left until cutoff of Discovery's 3 main engines. Discovery's altitude now 59 miles. Speed 5,500 miles per hour.
Discovery Houston, negative return.
Discovery is negative return.
That call confirming Discovery's gained too much speed and altitude to return to a landing at the Kennedy Space Center if that were required. All systems remain go for Discovery. Just over 4 minutes to cut off of the main engines. During that time, Discovery will more than triple its current speed to reach the 17,400 miles per hour required to achieve Earth orbit. Discovery 200 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center now, altitude 65 miles, speed 6,700 miles per hour.
Discovery Houston, press to ATO.
Discovery is pressed to ATO.
That call indicating Discovery could reach a lower than planned but safe orbit on only 2 engines if needed. All 3 engines continue to operate well at full throttle. Speed now 8,000 miles per hour. Altitude 67 miles, 300 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center.
Discovery Houston, single engine ops 3.
Discovery is single engine ops 3.
Discovery can perform a transatlantic landing on only 1 engine if required. All continuing to go well. Altitude 67 miles, 350 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center. Discovery speed now 9,200 miles per hour. Discovery is rolling to a heads-up position now to assist its performance as it finishes its ascent to orbit.
Discovery Houston, press to MECO and single engine Zaragoza 104.
Press to MECO and single engine Zaragoza 104.
Those calls that Discovery could reach its planned orbit on only 2 engines if needed. All 3 continue to operate well at full throttle. Just under 2 minutes to cut off of the main engines now.
Discovery Houston, we see a nominal shutdown plan. You will be go for the plus X and go for the pitch maneuver.
Nominal shutdown plan, go for the plus X and go for the pitch maneuver.
Good copy.
About a minute and a half to cut off of the main engines. Those calls confirming that the crew is go to do a plus X maneuver after jettison of the external tank to clear.
Discovery Houston, single engine press 104.
Single engine press 104.
Plus X maneuver to clear the tank, and also then a pitch maneuver that will provide handheld photography by the crew through the windows of the vehicle of the external tank after it's jettisoned. 1 minute to cut off of the main engines now. Discovery speed 13,300 miles per hour. Altitude 65 miles, 615 miles from the Kennedy Space Center. Discovery's 3 engines are now beginning to throttle back to prevent the spacecraft from experiencing forces in excess of 3 times that of Earth's gravity as it continues to accelerate. Speed now 14,800 miles per hour, altitude 63 miles, 700 miles northeast of the Kennedy Space Center. 30 seconds to cut off of the main engines. Discovery speed now 16,000 miles per hour. Standing by for cutoff Discovery's 3 main engines. Booster officer confirms main engine cutoff for Discovery. Standing by now for jettison of the external fuel tank. Live television as Discovery jettisons external fuel tank. All normal with the cutoff of Discovery's main engines. Discovery performing a maneuver to fire its jets and ensure clean separation from the tank.
Discovery, we have a good plus X maneuver.
Copy the good plus X. We saw a nominal MECO. OHMS 1 is not required.
Nominal MECO, OHMS 1 not required.
Commander Eileen Collins will now begin a manual pitch up of Discovery's nose, pitching it up to a point where the overhead windows of Discovery will be faced toward the tank as it begins to fall away, that allowing mission specialist Soichi Noguchi and from the middeck, Andy Thomas, to use handheld and video photography to inspect the tank, photography that will be transmitted down to the ground on day 3 of the mission. Collins will pitch the vehicle up and over to point the windows toward the tank until Noguchi tells her that it's centered in the windows and ready for photography.
Again, this is video that was taken by Soichi Noguchi from the flight deck of Discovery moments after orbital insertion, shortly after Discovery was launched on Tuesday from the Kennedy Space Center.
We did receive television of opening of the payload bay doors, that via a electronics systems test laboratory here at the Johnson Space Center. It just so happened that Discovery was passing within range of the tracking communications network at JSC during the time of the opening of the payload bay doors. And this is a live television view from cameras on the International Space Station. The station at an altitude of 225 statute miles approximately. The destination for Discovery now, as over the next 2 days, Discovery will slowly close in on the complex, planned to dock with the station at about 6:18 a.m. Central Time on Thursday.
Again, the video coming down to us briefly as we have contact with the ground station at the Dryden Flight Research Center in California. Steve Robinson on your left. Jim Kelly, known as Vegas, in the center of your screen. Kelly continuing with his preparations to activate the shuttle's robotic arm. This is Mission Control Houston. Again, these are pre-recorded views from inside the Space Shuttle Discovery as here Commander Eileen Collins prepares to open the hatch into the International Space Station following today's 6:18 a.m. Central Time docking. Shaking hands with International Space Station Expedition 11 Commander Sergei Krikalev and entering the station. Collins being greeted by John Phillips of the Expedition 11 crew and entering the Destiny Laboratory module.
Discovery's crew now aboard the Destiny Laboratory. Eileen Collins was first in, followed by Soichi Noguchi. Steve Robinson now aboard.
Houston Discovery for KU. KU activation is complete.
We copy, Soichi. Thanks.
And there's our first television views of this mission through the KU band communications antenna. A good view of the business end of the orbiter boom sensor system, again in this video replay from Soichi Noguchi, and the multitude of sensor packages right at the end of the boom on a pan and tilt unit, the laser dynamic range imager, the laser camera system, and an intensified TV camera. On the far left of your screen is the Raffaello multi-purpose location. And with that, the survey of the starboard wing leading edge panels of Discovery has now gotten underway. The crew deciding for conservation of time to begin with panel number 1, which is the inboard panel along the fuselage, and then move outboard toward the end of the wing. This is Mission Control Houston, an impressive view of the aft portion of the shuttle Discovery, looking out over the starboard wing. Now directly over the vertical tail fin and the orbiter maneuvering system pods. The payload bay doors opened with the deployed radiators to provide cooling for the orbiter's avionics as we pan over to the port wing of Discovery as the shuttle's robotic arm and the 50-foot-long boom extension are being maneuvered over to the nose cap of the orbiter to begin the survey of the reinforced carbon-carbon of the nose of the orbiter following the completion of the survey of the starboard wing that took about an hour and 45 minutes to complete.
Hello, Sergey. This is Space Shuttle Discovery on the Big Loop. We hear you loud and clear. How us?
Not very loud, but very clear. Glad to hear you. We're waiting for you.
Okay, glad to hear you too. We understand that you will not be answering calls when you're in the service module, but we will still be planning on giving you the status calls of where we are.
Okay, thanks.
And we're looking forward to seeing you guys.
We're waiting for you.
Loop, after sunrise, we want to let you know your space station looks absolutely beautiful from the outside.
This view through a camera set up in the orbiter docking system, a centerline camera as it is called, through those crosshairs in the orbiter docking system, showing a good view through sequential still video. This is the S-band communication system video that refreshes itself every 30 seconds or so, showing the International Space Station. This is the view that Commander Eileen Collins will be using as a navigational reference tool during her manual flying of Discovery toward the station.
Alpha Discovery, big loop, 650 feet.
And Sergey, they are 650 feet now and close. Sergey, they are 600.
Looking right down the barrel of the payload bay of Discovery from the International Space Station, 600 feet away, the Raffaello cargo module visible at the rear of the cargo bay. Right behind the aft bulkhead of the crew cabin, that's the orbiter docking system that will come into contact with the forward docking port of the Destiny laboratory just over an hour from now. This view now from payload bay cameras showing the shuttle and the station locked up at the docking interface between the orbiter docking system and the pressurized mating adapter number 2, the forward docking port on the Destiny laboratory. Once that relative motion is dampened out and hooks and latches are engaged, that docking ring will be retracted to form a hard mate between the two vehicles. That will take several minutes to accomplish. You can see the ring continuing to drive. That will form a hard mate between the two vehicles, after which the two crews on either side of the docking interface will begin about an hour and a half worth of leak checks prior to the pressurization of the small passageway between the two docking ports and the ability for the two crews to open hatches and greet one another. The robotics officer in the station flight control room reports that pilot Jim Kelly is now moving Raffaello in for what is known as the ready-to-latch position, with the pre-install alignment of the two common berthing mechanisms having been accomplished. The ready-to-latch indications indicate that the two common berthing mechanisms are ready to come into contact with one another as the precursor for the beginning of the mechanical driving of a series of bolts to form a hard mate between the Raffaello and the Unity module.
3300. The hose is yellow, and like I say, I can show it to you when we get the KU, when you get these construction workers here on KU, I can show you this too. It looks to me like it might be the right piece of gear, but the number is absolutely different from what's called out in the procedure.
Okay, John, let us take a look at it. Okay, John, let us take.
Save them in the lid. Pumpkins out. Discovery Houston for EVA photography. Go ahead, Mike. Andy, we appreciate all those photos of the DTO material without the flash.
This is a view from Steve Robinson's helmet-held camera as he is adjusting some handrail gap spanners that will help provide locations for the crew members to maintain their tether protocols. He's now at a patch panel that he's going to be swapping a couple of cables to make it possible for power to flow back into one of the control moment gyroscopes that has been down since it was failed because of a fuse or a circuit breaker.
P2 from J2.
The control moment gyroscope is fully functional. It just isn't able to receive power through that fuse or circuit breaker. This patch panel reconfigure that Robinson is going to continue with here is going to hopefully restore power to that control moment gyroscope.
Sorry. Okay. Guess I'm clear now. All right. You're clear? Okay.
Yeah, Switcher, we have to go to a preset position, then we'll get ready for the big move.
And Steve, you can retrieve the lower ball stack, Martin effector and rat, and put them in the crew lock bag.
This is Mission Control Houston, Mission Specialist Soichi Noguchi on the end of the space station's robotic arm, being driven into position to install the new control moment gyroscope at the Zenith 1 truss structure of the station.
You guys, we see them, yes. Is this supposed to slide far enough like that?
It powers the control moment gyros processor and data bus cards so that they can establish communications with the guidance, navigation, and control systems, multiplexer, demultiplexer. Filtered power also is supplied to the spin motor power supply and the inner gimbal power supply and the outer gimbal power supply. An unprecedented view of the Space Shuttle's thermal protection system from a distance of about 7 to 8 feet, looking straight down on one of the gap fillers that has been brought into question following rendezvous pitch maneuver photography accomplished by International Space Station crew members Sergei Krikalev and John Phillips during Discovery's approach.
In Houston, while we wait, I'm viewing another damage. It's just a chipped tile on the aft starboard edge of the nose gear door, of the starboard nose gear door. Actually, it's a chip about
3 inches wide, and it covers 2 tiles, and it's right on the aft edge of it. We copy that, Steve. We've already looked at that. Motion stopped. I remind you to use less than 5 to 10 pounds of force. Let us know if more force is required, and if you do succeed in pulling it out, GCA the arm away prior to putting it in your trash bag. Okay, it's yours. Our brakes set. The brakes are on. You're a go. Okay, I'm grasping it, and I'm pulling. It's coming out very easily. Beautiful. Very nice. Okay, Steve, GCA the arm back away. Okay, away from my body. I'd like to move body back by 5 feet, please. Okay, brakes are coming off, and we will move aft away from structure. Okay, that was 1.5 pounds of force.
So at 7:45 a.m. Central Time, spacewalker Steve Robinson reported he was able to easily remove the first of 2 gap fillers between tiles on the underside of the Shuttle Discovery. Reported it only took about 1.5 pounds of force to pull it out with his fingers.
KC, we are slowly backing you away. Ready.
As you look from the helmet camera on Robinson, you can see the gap filler in his fingertips.
Get some clearance.
These gap fillers are thin, stiff fabric.
Okay, good motion away from the orbiter.
That resembles in some ways a flat paint sample from a hardware store.
Maybe you have to be an old aerodynamicist like me, but the surface of this belly is just a work of art. Okay, that's far enough, Vegas.
Discovery Houston, we're happy with the video we have. No pictures necessary.
Excellent. Back to you, Steve.
And just so you know, we have a great downlink of Steve's WVS right now. We're really enjoying the view.
Yeah, it's pretty slick, isn't it?
This view from Soichi Noguchi's helmet camera as he looks down on his fellow spacewalker underneath the Shuttle Discovery.
Correct. In work.
Brakes are on. Your go from M2.
Thank you. Here we go. Play watching. Nicely done, Steve. Back to you to GCA away from there. Okay, that came out very easily, probably even less force. It looks like this big patient is cured. Copy that.
These helmet-mounted camera views showing clearly the gap filler he's removed in his fingertips there. The red coloring on there is the adhesive that's used to stick those gap fillers in between the tiles.
Doing my own inspection here. It's a very nice orbiter belly.
Robotics officer in Mission Control reports the arm is in motion. These pictures coming to us from the intensified television camera on the end of the orbiter boom sensor system, which is on the end of the Space Shuttle's robotic arm. Later today, the shuttle's arm will hand over the OBSS to the station arm so that it can be rebirthed in the starboard sill of Discovery's payload bay for the return home.
And for being part of such a successful mission. We're so happy to have spent the time up here with them. We've not only got some great work, fellowship and camaraderie, and these are memories that we'll have forever. So we thank them, and with that we are going to say just a short goodbye, and we're going to do a fly around of their space station and get them some great pictures and do a photo survey and add some final memories. So with that, we'll pass it to Sergey.
And we want to say thank you, all of you, and thank you to the ground who support this mission. It's a really big event for us because we were waiting for this flight for several years, more than 2 years already. And fortunately, everything goes smooth. We want to say thank you to you and wish good soft landing.
Thank you so much for being wonderful guests. It's really been a pleasure. And no, we're not glad to see you go. We'd love to have you stay. We'd love to have you stay a little longer. And as Sergey said, have a great flight, soft landing. We look forward to seeing you in a few months back in Houston.
Final hugs and handshakes for the 9 crew members on the shuttle station complex as Discovery's astronauts now make their way back through pressurized mating adapter number 2 into the shuttle, leaving behind John Phillips and Sergei Krikalev.
Discovery departing.
Flight engineer John Phillips with the traditional ringing of the bell, marking the departure of the crew that arrived 8 days ago. The motion that you see in the aft flight deck windows of Discovery, just behind the docking mechanism, is that of pilot Jim Kelly, who will be executing the undocking and the fly-around of the orbiter of the International Space Station. Just 3.5 minutes away from undocking, everything in readiness. All quiet in the shuttle flight control room, 30 seconds away from undocking.
Houston End Station, we have physical separation.
Houston copies.
Undocking confirmed.
Houston copies.
Discovery taking the first step on the road home to the Kennedy Space Center. This view from the centerline camera mounted in the orbiter docking system, the docking mechanism that is located just behind the aft bulkhead of the crew cabin. This shows head-on the cross target for pressurized mating adapter number 2 on the forward hatch of the docking port at the forward end of the Destiny laboratory of the complex. The instrumentation and communications officer here in Mission Control slewing the elbow camera on the shuttle robotic arm around to capture a view of the International Space Station coming into view. And again, from left to right for reference, the Destiny laboratory of the International Space Station, which was the docking port for Discovery, the huge U.S. solar arrays. In the middle of the complex, the Russian segment of the International Space Station. And on the far right of your screen, the Progress resupply ship, the Progress 18, docked to the aft docking port of the Zvezda service module.
Houston, Discovery has the runway in sight.
Copy runway.
This is a view from the heads-up display for pilot Jim Kelly. A live view out the forward windows, looking down at Edwards Air Force Base. Discovery rolling on to align with the runway. Altitude 7,000 feet. Altitude 5,000 feet. Discovery descending through 3,000 feet, 3 miles to touchdown. (1,000 feet). Landing gears down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Drag chute deploy. Nose gear touchdown. And Discovery is home.
Houston Discovery, wheel stop.
Roger, wheel stop, Discovery, and congratulations on a truly spectacular test flight. Stevie Ray, Suichi, Andy, Vegas, Charlie, Wendy, and Eileen, welcome home, friends.
And thank you, those are great words to hear. We're happy to be back, and we congratulate the whole team for a job well done. We're going to page 5-3.
And we'll meet you there. Okay, we see that as well. You are go for page 5-14.
Houston, could you repeat your last?
Yeah, Eileen, you are go for page 5-14 as written.
Okay, working page 5-14.
Houston Discovery for the PLT. I show all actions complete. I'm going to stand by on page 5-17 for the egress.
Okay, we copy and understand.
And I Doc, understand you concur. Do you see everything in a good config on the right side?
Yeah, Vegas, at this point, we see everything in a good config. We'll keep checking for you.
Copy that, Hawk. Just a question on the MEDS displays. Do you want me to turn some of these off to reduce the heat load in here, or just leave them as is?
And Vegas would prefer that you leave them in their current config.
And Houston, that message, I believe, is due to the hatch opening.
And we concur.
This is Mid-Control Houston, Commander Eileen Collins and crew exiting the crew transport vehicle outside the Space Shuttle Discovery on the tarmac at Edwards Air Force Base in California. Andy Collins, Steve Robinson, Charlie Camarda, Wendy Lawrence, Soichi Noguchi, Jim Kelly. Back on terra firma after a 5.8 million mile mission around the Earth. Spacewalkers Steve Robinson and Soichi Noguchi getting a close look at the underbelly of Discovery. Robinson, of course, on his third spacewalk of the mission, was in this position on the end of the space station's robotic arm. He pulled 2 tile gap fillers out to help ensure that boundary layer was not tripped and cause additional heating in the tiles behind those tile gap fillers.
I'd like to say hello to everybody, and on behalf of the STS-114 crew, we have had a fantastic mission. We are so glad to be able to come back and say it was successful, and we have resupplied the International Space Station, and we've met the test objectives of the Space Shuttle program, brought Discovery back in great shape. As you can see behind us, crew was really anxious to walk around and see what the outside looked like, and it looks fantastic. We got a great group of folks here that are taking care of Discovery and taking care of us. Just want to say thanks to all of those who have worked this mission. For many of us, it's been 4 years since we've trained for STS-114, and this is a wonderful moment for all of us to experience. And thank you for sharing that with us, and we'll be talking to you again in a couple of hours.